Hi, thanks for joining us. This course is designed for non-Japanese who are interested in the culture and want to get more understanding. So I want to talk about where the culture happens. We're going to do a quiz with 5 questions that, after you're finished, you can go tell your friends and sound like an expert. In fact, 1 or 2 of them will probably surprise Japanese people, so you can tell them and sound like a true scholar. Okay, let's begin. First question. Can you name the main islands of Japan? And then, on those islands, what and where are the 3 biggest cities? We'll do that first, and we'll go through and get 4 others, which are: is Japan small? Is Japan crowded? What percentage of the population is not ethnically Japanese? And do you think most Japanese people are young or old? So, please take a minute or 2 to think about these. You might want to pause the video and write down your answers. It's very helpful if you think a little bit first. Okay, so here we go. Answer to question number 1 is very easy. Answers to number 2 and 3 are a little more difficult. And hopefully answers to 4 and 5 are surprising. Well, the main islands of Japan are called Honshu, which actually means main island, or mainland. And that's the largest. Hokkaido is the second, up there in the north. Kyushu is the 3rd largest there. That's the closest one to mainland Asia. And Shikoku is the 4th largest. I have to say sorry to Okinawa, the 5th, because it doesn't fit nicely on my slide. Sorry about that. But Okinawa is also a very culturally rich and interesting area, which is part of the Ryukyu Island chain, which was actually an independent country until the 1800s. Okay, so where are the main cities, and what are they? You probably know number 1, don't you? Yes, of course, Tokyo is one of the great cities of all the world. Right next to Tokyo, in the southeast corner of Honshu Island, is Yokohama, Japan's 2nd largest city. But they are often bunched together in people's minds as one great metropolitan or megalopolis area called Greater Tokyo. And that has 35 million people. I think by most estimates, this is the largest urban area in the world. And it's impressive. You should go there just to see the number of people. However, Osaka is also quite a mega city. Osaka city proper is only 2.7 million, but the Greater Osaka also is absolutely one of the world's mega cities. It's at 17 million. You can find Osaka kind of in the middle of the southern part of Honshu, and that is roughly a 1.5 hour ride by the Shinkansen bullet train from Tokyo. You can imagine these 2 cities have certain rivalries. Alright, do you think Japan is a small country? Because if you ask many Japanese people, I think they're going to say yes. I don't share this opinion. It's larger than most European countries, larger than Great Britain, for example. Honshu is the 7th largest in the world. Japan is a bit larger than the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia. although it's a bit smaller than Thailand and smaller than Myanmar. If we measure in a different way, economically, it's certainly a big country, being the third largest by GDP and producing 7% of the world's economic output. That's very significant. It's also the 10th largest country by population, although it probably won't be in 40 years. But why do you think Japanese people feel so small as a country? Well, look at their neighbors. China, by many measures, is the largest country in the world. And then, not really shown on this map, but in the green area, Russia is by far the largest country by land area. And politically and somewhat culturally, Japan feels bordered by the United States, also one of the world's largest countries. So perhaps Japan feels a bit surrounded by the world's giants. Is Japan a crowded country? Probably everybody agrees with this. Yes, it's crowded. It's also proof that Japan's industrialization is not small. The interesting feature of this legacy of great post-war industrialization, but pre-war is also, the industrialization since the late 1800s has been very rapid in this section we can call the Taiheiyo Belt, or Pacific Belt. I think we may be able to call this the most densely populated large area of land in the world. I mean, 85 million people stretching along this interesting strip, which covers actually the 3 islands, starting in the Tokyo area and ending in the north of Kyushu, with cities like Fukuoka and Kita-Kyushu. And these are all very well connected by rail. The Shinkansen, or bullet train, connects Tokyo to Kyushu in just a few hours, and it's very convenient. This bottom map is hard to understand for anybody, Japanese people included, I believe. It's the Greater Tokyo Rail System, which is beautiful to me, as a spider's web is beautiful. But as with both, I don't understand the mechanism. I just like to look at it. I do not want to get caught in either. So what percentage of Japan's population is not ethnically Japanese? The country is about 98.5% ethnically Japanese. And 1% of the minority populations are Chinese and Koreans. And many of these are second or third generation who probably speak Japanese quite well and fairly well assimilate into the population. Some of these are in a very politically and culturally sensitive limbo situation, and for various reasons are not officially Japanese citizens. An unfortunate fact of Japan's rapid industrialization of the 1800s has led to the near disappearance of Ryukyu peoples in the south and Ainu peoples of the north, who are largely gone or assimilated into the Japanese culture. In the picture on the left, you can see the traditional Ryukyu costume, and on the right, there's the caption on that photo says, "Modern and Ancient Customs of the Ainu." So, final question. Is Japan old or young? It's definitely not a young country. It's probably the oldest country in the industrialized world, and probably that means about the oldest country in the world. With an average age of 45, the women slightly older, Japan is rapidly facing a population crunch. And that's even more true for the rural and farmer populations, where the average age of farmers is incredibly 66. All of these facts will lead to certain conclusions and certain things that will happen in the future, and we will talk about that in the last class of this course. As for next week, please check out Japanese history. See you then.